There's a dark history laced throughout the timeline of Disney's annual park passes. It's a history that involves lawsuits, revenue loss, and a big question for future guests. Will annual passes return for everyone again, or are they going away forever? Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Disney's annual pass programs in both Disneyland and Disney World have had their fair share of struggles lately, impacting not only the Disney company itself, but also guests with existing annual passes and out-of-state guests wishing to purchase their own annual passes in the future. So what's going on with these annual passes, and how can guests with single-day tickets make the most out of their park days when there's no pass holder safety net helping out with discounts for multiple trips? Stick with me, DFB's got the deets. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. In order to understand how to save money without annual passes, you got to know what exactly the annual pass programs were and are currently for some. So even if you think you already know everything there is to know about annual passes, I will say we have learned a lot and we knew a lot. You're going to need to know the nitty-gritty details to get the full impact of why these passes are so deeply caught up in major Disney controversies right now. The idea of APs isn't something unique to Disney. Lots of theme parks around the globe offer special tickets for their more frequent park-loving guests. Instead of paying each time you visit the parks, you pay an annual fee for a pass that'll get you into the parks all year round. Annual passes are intended to save returning guests money for future visits, though the initial cost is going to be way more expensive than the cost of a single day ticket. Now, did you see what I did there? I said they're intended to save returning guests money, but is that really true? I think the actual incentive of annual passes for businesses means you're going to get those guests coming back time and again. They're prepaying for trips to come there. And of course, they're going to spend money while they are there. So that's the actual incentive of an annual pass for a business. Now let's go back in time for a second to see how drastically Disney passes have changed and how these changes impact the way you buy park tickets right now. When Disney World first opened in 1971, tickets were handled the same way you'd experience a carnival or state fair. You'd pay to get into the park itself, which at the time was like $2.25, and then you'd have to pay for ride ticket books. This is also how Disneyland over in Anaheim had been operating their parks since opening back in 1955. Each ride was placed in a lettered tier system from A through E, and you could only ride a certain attraction if you had its corresponding ticket. This system lasted until 1982, when individual ride tickets were kicked to the curb and a single-day ticket that gave you unlimited rides throughout the park was born. Shortly after the change, Disney started offering an annual pass for locals who thought the cost of these single-day tickets just wasn't worth the asking price. Many locals had been more than satisfied with simply paying for general admission and then not paying for the ride booklets, just so they could socialize, snack, and shop around the Disney bubble, which, fair, I like to do that too, even now. For Disney World, annual passports were initially sold at $80 per kid and $100 per adult, which seems like a steal nowadays, right? But by the very next year, annual passports already experienced their first price hike, though those who'd already had annual passes could renew them for another year at a discounted rate. As 1985 rolled around, the option for water park add-ons started to be introduced to the AP system, and then MGM Studios opened in 1989, spiking the annual pass prices to $140 for kiddos and $180 for adults. In 2010, a brand new annual pass option was introduced called the Premier Passport, which allowed guests who really didn't want to choose between their love for Disneyland and Disney World to not have to. The pass allowed guests to visit either the California parks or the Florida parks for the entire year. Before the 2020 shutdowns and starting in 2015, the breakdown of the annual pass holder levels got a little more detailed and a lot more pricey. But to sum it up for you, this system is when AP sales started pushing over the $1,000 mark. Now that wasn't the end of annual pass switcheroos, because with the 2020 shutdowns came a whole lot of new AP drama. So what really happened to the annual passes after the 2020 closures, and why have they been such wishy-washy presence in our lives ever since? This is where the Disneyland and Disney World divides start to play a big part in the overarching story. Though Disney World reopened their gates after a 4-month-long shutdown, Disneyland's parks remained dark for well over a year, 412 days to be exact, but we'll get more into Disneyland drama later on. That didn't mean Disney World just jumped back to business per usual. The parks were now operating under extremely modified conditions, which included the suspension of annual pass sales. Annual pass sales were kept on pause for 18 months before Disney reintroduced a brand new annual pass system at the beginning of September in 2021. Gone were the days of silver, gold, and platinum passes. Instead, 4 new tiers took up the ranks, which I'll put on the screen for you now. As you can see, we've got 4 different tiers going on here. You've got the most expensive Disney Incredipass, which is available for both Florida and non-Florida residents to purchase and has absolutely 0 blockout dates. You got the next tier down, the Disney Sorcerer Pass, which has a small selection of blockout dates here and there, but not many. You got the Disney Pirate Pass, which has more blockout dates, including when the parks are going to be at their predicted busiest. And then you've got the cheapest pass of them all, the Pixie Dust Pass, which will not only block pass holders out of the parks during peak times and holiday seasons, but also on the weekends. Lots to unpack there, right? But let me break down what exactly this new system meant for APs. For starters, non-Florida residents didn't have a whole lot of options, despite the several different tiers listed. As an out-of-state resident, you had to purchase the most expensive of the park passes, the Disney Incredipass, which had no blockout dates, sure, but it also made out-of-staters pay in full for these passes with no available payment plan options, unlike the payment plans that were instated for locals. And though many of the Disney pass holder perks remained, like park hopping benefits, select restaurant and merch discounts, and complimentary parking, guests noticed that some previously included perks now cost extra. Before, APs automatically had Disney PhotoPass added onto their accounts, but with this new system, PhotoPass cost an extra $99 for APs and needed to be renewed each year along with the annual pass fees. This was still a cheaper PhotoPass price than the usual $169 to $199, but still, when you gotta pay $99 for a once-free service, that leaves a sour taste in your mouth and was just the beginning of that happening across the board at Disney World. Then there was the fact that these brand new passes had to adapt to the new way things worked in the wonderful world of a reopened and reimagined Disney experience. Tier systems now included how many park pass reservations pass holders could hold at a time, with 5 park days being the most offered alongside the Disney Incredipass, and 3 park days being the least offered alongside the Pixie Dust Pass. If annual pass holders didn't make a park pass reservation for a specific park ahead of time, they wouldn't be allowed to enter the parks, which kind of was a bummer for locals who once enjoyed jumping in the parks whenever the mood struck them right. Now, days need to be pre-planned to make a visit work. But the park pass reservation system was introduced in 2020 originally, so Disney could better control the crowd levels coming in and out of the parks, especially when they were running at a much lower guest capacity. Park pass reservations continue to stick around even now, however, so Disney can have complete control over how many guests they want to let into their parks each day. Stick this info in your back pocket for later. It plays an important role in some rather juicy Disney controversies that we'll get to in a second. Disney World annual pass holders could also add the new premium queue bypassing service, Disney Genie Plus, and those a la carte lightning lane entrances, but there was nothing super special about this planning tool that was any different than how a single-day ticket holder could purchase theirs. APs would have to purchase and reserve lightning lanes on the day of their park pass reservations, same as everyone else. But what about the pre-existing pass holders? What happened to them during this new tiered system shift? Pass holders who renewed their pass prior to September 8th, 2021 were still able to keep all of the same benefits and inclusions like PhotoPass downloads until it was their time to renew back into the program again. And for their next renewal, they'd need to choose their new tier in the latest system. Despite removing certain AP perks and upping those prices, did this latest tier system iteration actually help save frequent Disney World visitors money? Let's look at that next. Let's say we're buying single-day park hopper tickets for a 5-day Disney World trip. The average cost for single-day park hopper tickets for a consecutive 5 days is going to cost you about $108 per day per adult. At $108 per day, you would need to visit Disney World for about 12 days each year to make the price of the $1,299 break even. But getting into the parks is only half the budget battle. Sure, an annual pass will give you discounts for hotel stays and select Disney dining, but even discounted Disney prices are nothing to sneeze at. You'll still have to pay hundreds for hotel rooms, dining, and travel expenses. Even when you're using your annual passes in a financially suave manner, these passes still box you in, making you feel like you've got to visit the parks for at least 12 days out of the year to make it worth your while. And you want to know a really dark truth to all this? This is really what Disney wanted to accomplish when they started the AP program in the first place. Sure, they wanted to make the frequenting locals happy again when they took away the cheaper general admission and the ticket books, but they also wanted to lock in future customers. This annual payment wasn't just going to be some monthly gym membership price that you went, whoops, forgot to visit this month, but I'll definitely make it up next month, wink, wink. No, APs are expensive. And if you're going to make that investment, then you're going to come back to Disney again and again and again. But here's the big shocker, Disney may not even want annual pass holders anymore. Now, before we start talking about what the future of Disney World APs look like, let's jump back over to the West Coast because they've got even bigger fish to fry over there, like $5 million lawsuit big, and it's all thanks to, yet again, the new AP services. While Disneyland was still in the midst of the 2020 shutdown, which bled into 2021, Disneyland announced that they'd be shutting down their current annual pass holder program. Now, Disneyland is very different from Disney World. The majority of their visitors are locals, and the majority of their visitors are annual pass holders. And so this caused a lot of concern. And much like Disney World reimagined their annual pass system, Disneyland decided to bring around something new in August 2021 called the Magic Key program. Now, this one has 4 different tier systems, and here's what the key breakdown looked like. Just like Disney World's annual pass tiers, the Magic Key program also has 4 different tiers. There's the most expensive Dream Key, and as stated on the website, it's supposed to have no blockout dates. Keep that in mind. There's the Believe Key, which is supposed to have very limited blockout dates. The Enchant Key with significantly more blockout dates, especially around the holiday seasons. And there's the Imagine Key, which has more blockout dates and the ability to only hold 2 Park Pass reservations at a time, which I guess isn't the worst thing, considering there are only 2 parks available here, but between Disney World and Disneyland, that's the least amount of reservations of them all. Seems innocent, right? The new AP system included a lot of additional benefits too, like access to the exclusive Magic Key Terrace in California Adventure, invitations to Magic Key holder celebrations, and select discounts on food and merchandise. But as you can see in the list here, Disneyland Magic Key holders also had to abide by the Park Pass reservation system. At most, you could hold up to 6 Park Pass reservations as a Dream Key holder, and at the very least, you could hold up to 2 Park Pass reservations as an Imagine Key holder. But later into the year, one of Disneyland's Magic Key holders filed a lawsuit against the parks. According to the Orange County Register, this class action lawsuit alleges that Disneyland deceived its most loyal fan base by artificially limiting theme park capacity and blocking pass holders with no blockout annual passes from making reservations. You know how I told you to stick that Park Pass reservation knowledge in your back pocket for later? Well, this is later. Turns out Disneyland seemed to be claiming that Park Pass reservations were full for Magic Key holders, yet single-day ticket holders could book reservations for the exact same days with no problems whatsoever. In reality, allegations stated that Disney had this sort of ghostly Magic Key holder quota, and once it was surpassed, no more Magic Key holders were allowed to make reservations for that day, even though the parks were not full. Meaning, even though you purchased a Magic Key, giving you access to the parks on any day of the year, you might not be allowed to get in when someone else who bought a single-day ticket could. I personally experienced this. I do have a Magic Key, and when I tried to book Park Pass reservations for a particular week, there were no Park Pass reservations available for Magic Key holders that day, but there were Park Passes available for regular ticket holders. And Disney World works their Park Passes this way too. They have different capacity levels for annual pass holders, hotel guests, and regular ticket guests. Now, before I move on with speculation, let me just say that Disneyland has denied these allegations, though the lawsuit is still moving forward. So what we're about to talk about from here on out is going to be more focused on the why the Disney company would benefit from doing something like this, rather than stating that this is 100% the gospel truth, because the jury's literally still out. So that being said, why would Disney potentially do something like this? Well, as you probably guessed, it all comes down to money. Disney's CEO Bob Chapek mentioned during a third quarter earnings call back in the summer of 2020 that, quote, different guests, depending on where they're coming from, have different relative values in terms of their contribution as a guest to the park. And typically, someone who travels and stays for 5 to 7 days is marginally more valuable to the business than someone who comes in on an annual pass and stays a day or two and consumes less, merchandise and food and beverage, unquote. In a nutshell, despite the high prices of those annual passes, the ones who are usually buying the passes in the first place, especially over in Disneyland, are locals. And locals aren't really at the mercy of the parks. They don't have to eat there. They don't have to get a hotel there. They don't even have to buy a souvenir for memory's sake, which is why Disney continues to push the whole exclusive pass holder merch on its existing APs. APs still might feel the need to purchase something before they leave for the day, which helps Disney get a few more dollars out of them each time. That being said, even exclusive pass holder merchandise or the ability to purchase something before it's released to the public aren't foolproof incentives to make APs drop more money in the park. parks. And with Disneyland's AP to guest ratio, locals make a good percentage of the park's population each day, especially during busier seasons. According to Bob Chapek, during that same quarterly earnings call in 2020, 50% of the guest base at Walt Disney World was made up of guests who were traveling to the resort from a distance, leaving locals to be the remaining 50% approximately of the guest base. Again, think of the time this statement was made. This was at a time Disney was finding ways to recover after extended periods of major revenue loss after the shutdown, and attempting to get their numbers back up while also keeping a cap on attendance, which was a very thin tightrope for the company to balance on. But because history tends to repeat itself, Disneyland appeased its locals with a new pass holder option when it ended the former one, and yet, despite the claim of the top-tier Magic Keys having little to no blockout dates, it seemed Disney had made their own loophole by using the newly implemented Park Pass reservation system as a way to keep too many Magic Key holders from entering the parks on a single day. So back to the Disneyland lawsuit itself. In total, 6 allegations were made against the Disney company regarding the falsely claimed filled reservation days, but only 2 are continuing to be pursued going forward, and these include breach of contract and the California Consumer Protection Act. According to the Orange County Register, the case will likely come down to 2 points. 1, whether a Disneyland Dream Key annual pass constitutes a good or service, or a temporary license, as Disney contends, and 2, the meaning of blockout dates and what that definition includes and excludes for pass holders and Disneyland. So, now what does that mean for Disney guests now? Moving on to the future of annual passes. Today, both Disney World and Disneyland have paused most of their annual pass holder sales. Disney World is no longer selling the Pirate, Sorcerer, and Incredipass for the time being, though Florida residents can still purchase the Pixie Pass, aka the most affordable of the AP group with the fewest amount of park reservations you can hold at one time. As far as Disneyland Magic Key sales go, all Magic Key sales have been put on pause until further notice. But even with the Disneyland Magic Key suspension, you can still go to the Magic Key portion of their website and read the large notice posted at the top of the screen. Please note that reservation availability may change after you view the access calendar, and dates that are available at this time may be unavailable in the future. This being said, current pass holders for both Disney World and Disneyland should still be able to renew their passes and Magic Keys before their expiration date window. But if locals miss that window of opportunity or choose not to renew their APs, the Disney sites frequently offer discounted ticket rates for their Florida and California residents. So here's where the big question comes into play. When will APs be available for guests to purchase again? After all, Disneyland's been dealing with pass holder sale pauses since last October, and Disney World has had most of their APs on hold since last November. There had been many predictions and rumors saying these annual pass pauses were a result of the holiday season and that AP sales would resume once we were all done decking the halls and ringing in the new year. But we're well into summer now with no word about when these sales will be revived. Don't worry, I'm going to keep y'all on the loop just as soon as I hear word about the Prodigal Passes returning, so keep checking back with our latest news videos, keep track of any annual pass holder updates for both Disneyland and Disney World on our DFB website. I'll link our AP pages in the description below. But all we know right now is you can't buy any annual passes for either coast except that one Pixie Pass. That's it. So now it's time for you to outsmart the system, whether you're a current AP holder or someone who's planning on going to a one-and-done Disney trip. How can you save money and track down the best discounts? Well, I got a quick checklist of the top 5 ways you can save money on your upcoming trip, and some of them you might not have realized were even things you could do. First up, plan those vacations during Disney's off-season for lower ticket prices. Check out those ticket calendars before you bite the bullet, especially if you have the freedom to kind of pick and choose when to take a Disney World vacation. We're seeing the most affordable ticket prices currently during the last 2 weeks of August, not including weekends, and throughout the month of September, not including the last days of the month leading into October. Early August prices are still pretty steep since many students and teachers will be trying to get the last hurrahs before the end of their summer vacations. 2. Track down happy hours. Looking for dining discounts similar to what you might get with an annual pass? Disney happy hours are one of my favorite sections to write about in the DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining because, it's called happy hour for a reason. Discounted apps and drinks, count me in. Many happy hour offerings happen in the Disney Springs area in Disney World and the downtown downtown Disney area in Disneyland. So if you find a few restaurants you're wanting to check out, do a little more digging, see if there's a certain time of day or certain day during the week where select menu items could be cheaper during your visit. 3, check the special offers page on the Disney websites for package deals. You never know when a good offer or ticket hotel bundle will pop up, but we can definitely help you out with that if you'd like. Sign up for that free newsletter and we'll inform you of those upcoming discounts right away so you can have first dibs when they appear. 4, skip the Park Hopper edition. For adults, you can save an extra $65 per park ticket in Disney World and an extra $60 in Disneyland just by choosing to not park hop during your upcoming trip. Easy as that. 5, don't forget about other discounts for other memberships. Are you a Disney Visa card holder or a Disney Vacation Club member? You can still receive hotel, dining, and merchandise discounts for those programs too. Check out DisneyRewards.com to learn more about Disney Visa perks and check out the member benefits and discounts section of the Disney Vacation Club website for DVC info. We don't get any kickbacks for telling you that. We're just giving you the options for discounts. And last, final, and important annual pass holder point. Annual passes are tricky, and whether they really are worth the cost or not completely varies person to person. Some guests really can get their money's worth out of an annual pass, especially those who live closer to the parks than others. Some guests also love getting annual passes because it means less pressure to cram in everything you want to do in a single visit. But for others, annual passes with all of their restrictions and a lot of the perks taken away maybe just aren't the same as they used to be. Now they just feel more expensive and more limited. So before APs do go back on sale, do your research. Figure out what plan of action will work best for your group and come to decisions that make the most sense for you. Hope that was helpful. We know you are definitely looking forward to when annual passes go back on sale. And like I said, join our newsletter. We'll let you know as soon as we do. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.